What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you. And one that we definitely wanted to go over that was coming out this week. Just because I own a couple of their EPs and their last full length, and it's absolutely insanely heavy stuff. So we are going to go over the latest offering from Gateway with their new album, Galgendood. I have no idea what that word means, but me personally, I think it's maybe the name of a troll that eats your boogers in your sleep. Or an instrument made out of human teeth and bones. It's one of the two, I'm reasonably sure, but my Flemish is a little rusty. This also comes out on the 21st of July on Transcending Obscurity Records. This band formed in 2014 in Belgium. This is their second full-length overall. They have 4 EPs. I own their first full-length, which is simply self-titled, and then I own the Flesh Reborn EP and Boundless Torture EP. And this is one-man DEATHDOOM, and it is some of the murkiest, filthiest, just most evil, slow, disgusting shit out there, honestly. The one man involved, Robin Van Onyen, I think that's how you say your last name. Ah, man, dude, you terrify me with your music.
Yes, and your vocals. Yeah, I guess have heard of this band. He claims he showed it to me. I feel like this is something I would have remembered, but whatever. He showed me one of the singles for this album a couple weeks ago, and I was like, yes, this is what I like. This is good. And the full-length album, in this case, did not disappoint.
Man, this is dense. Dense with reverb and just extra noises. The vocals on here, there might be maybe 200 words spoken on this entire album.
If that.
If that, but it doesn't matter because each growl is carried out and it's loaded with reverb. There are groans, there are chants. The vocals contribute a lot to the atmosphere, which is pretty much everything decorating the bottom-heavy, disgusting, chunky riffs on here. The DEATHDOOM approach in here, I have to say, is almost kind of similar to like Japanese DEATHDOOM. Like, it reminded me a lot of like Coffins and Anatomia, but also like, you know, Incantation and definitely some early Hooded Menace too.
Primitive Man.
Anything slow and heavy that doesn't make you feel good at all, because this is not music to make you feel good about anything.
No.
In fact, like, the whole vibe on this, like, their earlier albums are definitely heavy. They are definitely suffocating and just miserable. The guitar tone kind of just drips out of the speaker. This is, I would almost say, music that you could actually make mildew show up. Like, you can make mildew show up by playing this in a bathroom. It's fair. That thick, it's that damp with just gross atmosphere.
Yep.
But I think this one is almost taken to an extreme. Like, the first 3 tracks in here almost run as giant soundscapes. Now, granted, there's like a rhythm and riffs to it, but it is so dense and evil sounding.
I mean, yeah, it's not even really riff heavy, at least in the couple first songs. Like, there's a lot of chug, which I love, but I mean, it's more just to create atmosphere because it's reverb to the 9s and layered 75 times. Like, it's just about creating something hellish and unsettling and just ugh.
Yeah, the guitar tone is just ultra thick and kind of crispy and gross, and I don't know, it sounds like it's being played through like 100 broken speakers. Like, there's a lot of sizzle and just kind of gristle to it. It sounds like it's frying in a pan full of just fatty, more than likely human remains. You do get like, calling them lead melodies doesn't even sound right, because there's nothing melodic about this. It's, again, just dense and evil, but you have lead accompaniment, I guess you could say. Like descending and ascending tremolo riffs, mostly descending. Like the melody that shows up on Bog Bodies Near the Humid Crypt. It's just so appropriate. That should have been the name for this entire album. That might be what, you know, Galgendood means, but probably not. I'm still pretty fixed on the troll thing. But yeah, there is a melody that, I mean, it sounds like the guitar's almost weeping and moaning.
Yep.
like it's pure misery.
The riff is almost too much. It's so gross. It's so fucking gross because of the melody. You got to put it in quotes whenever you talk about melodies on this record. It's melody. It's not. It's just like, I don't even know. It sounds inhuman. It sounds like it's not played naturally. It sounds like he's running a Dremel across the strings as he just, moves across the fretboard.
I don't know. I mean, the Dremel might actually be something he's using. I don't know. This is, again, a one-man project, so there's no one there to tell him, like, hey, maybe not that. Like, fuck you. I'll make this as creepy as I want. Overall, this entire album feels more about atmosphere and mood than, say, riffs. I mean, it does have riffs. They're very primal, very simple. I would say there's like 40 notes played on this entire album, but it's how they're played. The slow, just kind of churning, gross rhythms, and the lack of subtlety. Like, there's no subtlety to this. Like, generally I think of like the whole like kind of creeping up on you vibe where everything kind of builds from a quiet moment to a heavier moment. There are very few quiet moments on here. They're generally filled with like cavernous growls and squawking feedback. Like, this is something lumbering after you very slowly, but it wants you to know that it's still chasing you down.
Right, yeah. It's not like stealth creeping in the darkness. Like, it's behind you. It's there. It may be a few feet behind you, but it's there and it's coming for you. It's in the third song. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. Noctrituil, maybe, where it's tribal drums and like Satan throat singing, and it gets progressively louder, and there's more voices and whispers and whatever. Like, there's a whole crowd of bullshit coming for you.
Yeah, dude. Satan's got backup singers, and they all have fucking laryngitis.
Yep.
It sounds evil, and that one, I guess you could say, like, there is a little bit of a build-up because, like, while it does start off with, like, the big, heavy tribal tom hits, it does pick up the pace and intensity towards the end. But it's, again, more about settling the atmosphere and making it haunting and creepy. And it's kind of a long transitional track into Scourged at Dawn, which honestly is one of my favorites on here. Mm-hmm. This one, they kind of peel back a layer of that gross, kind of mossy, tendrily, entrail-y atmosphere, and it kind of showcases the riffs just a little bit more. Like, there's a little bit less, like, ambiance, like, less groans and less chants and church bells and choirs and shit like that. Like, it's just kind of the vocals and the riffs and a drum machine that sounds like whenever the snare hits, it's like someone hitting the side of an abandoned warehouse.
Yeah, it dials back the atmosphere just enough to let an actual song, so to speak, be played. Like, it's not so reliant on, what's over here? Oh, it's Satan. I mean, he's still there, but he's also playing guitar.
And that's kind of the same on Bog Bodies Near the Humid Crypt. Again, that's just such a fun song title. A little bit more brutal. Like, I think the chugs are just like a little bit more, I don't know, like just primal sounding. And again, they're not as buried in all the atmosphere.
They're more defined.
Yeah.
Yep. For me personally, I think this is probably the heaviest song on this already unbelievably heavy record, just because it breathes a little bit more. It lets the riff breathe a little bit more. It's not so buried under filthy fucking slimy murk.
And honestly, I think one of the biggest standout riffs is the last track, I guess technically the title track, Galgendood, Dagratuil, which I think means daily ritual, and Duvelsput, which means Satan's well or devil's well or something like that. Really wasn't sure on that last one. I see sput at the end and I think, are they talking about spooge?
Satan's whacking it.
Very slowly though.
Yes.
Because this one's just gross, but it has like probably the biggest earworm riff. And I mean earworm for like, DEATHDOOM heads. For anyone else, you're just going to look at the person that suggests this and go, what the fuck is wrong with you, man?
Sure. Yeah, that riff, I love that riff. That's I think the most memorable riff beyond heaviness. I think it's the most memorable riff in terms of, again, melody, because what's happening isn't real.
Yeah.
But it's It's catchy. I like it.
And they drone on it.
Yep.
Like, this one stays on this riff like a fat kid in a cupcake. Like, it is fucking on it. And honestly, like, there was a point where I could have used that sort of, like, repetition or a hook because, again, like, starting off, you know, wall-to-wall atmosphere. Like, this album is fucking terrifying. I'm reasonably sure if this guy gets a band together, they're only going to play night shows outdoors lit by torches, and then he's going to go home and sleep in his coffin. But at a certain point, I think the atmosphere kind of takes over a little bit too much, especially early on in the album. And I still want to be able to hear all these gnarly riffs, but again, they're just buried under all this atmosphere. There's no quiet moments. Like, every conceivable avenue for sound to fill is filled by nightmarish hellscapes and riffs. And, well, I mean, one of my issues on here is, well, the drums. They are a drum machine, and I know there's like an aesthetic here. Like, honestly, with the drum machine sound, and it's a very obvious drum machine sound, it kind of makes me think of like a DEATHDOOM version of Godflesh, which I love Godflesh. They sound murky and evil, but in a very different way. But, I don't know, there's something about, like, how minimalistic the drums are. And, you know, I couldn't tell you, like, what a cymbal sounded like on here because it was buried behind all the static.
I mean, that's true. I mean, mostly you get kick drum and toms and snare. Yeah, there's not a lot there. But, I mean, the more I think about it, like, what would you want it to sound like? Like, especially on something like this. And the fact that it's mostly doom, like, he's not moving really quickly, so I don't know, in my opinion, and I'm a drummer, like, but the more I think about it, I just don't know how I would want it to sound, and if more in this case would be better.
Yeah, I mean, well, everything on there is very minimalistic, again, like,
yeah.
You know, minimalistic chuggy riffs, drum patterns. There are a couple of moments where you get like some more like almost blast, like kind of a slow stomp, or like a double time rhythm. But yeah, with the drum production, like half the time it's so buried in the atmosphere, like it's almost barely there as a rhythm. Like you end up following the riffs more than you do in the drum patterns.
Yep, and I'll state that that's true because I listened to it in the car on the way over here, and it was so buried that like a lot of the times I was like, is there even a snare drum? Because of what was happening. Now when I listened to it up here, you know, when we jammed it, I was like, oh, there's the snare drum. But on a really like bassy system, you can't really hear it. I don't know if that's a gripe, but it's certainly an observation.
Yeah, and again, like, reasons for listening to this, like, this isn't like one I would listen to for all the riffs. This is one I would listen to for like the atmosphere.
Yep.
Because, oh my God, you feel it. It's gross, sticky, and disgusting.
It's unsettling.
And yeah, like, I feel like I should probably clean off the countertops near the speaker because there was something coming out of it, and I'm reasonably sure it was leaving a fucking trail. But overall, I really enjoyed this. I thought this was just a completely insanely heavy listen. Like, I'll say, like, this is one of the heaviest things I've listened to this year, and it's just gross. And I'm gonna go ahead and give it 3.5 stars. I dig this. I dig all of the work that I've heard by this band. I think maybe the atmosphere kind of overtook certain spots in here because I think Skirts at Dawn and Bog Bodies Near the Humid Crypt, again, fun song title. Those are like my big standouts in here because, again, the riff work shown, and there's still plenty of atmosphere on it. The fact with the constantly droning growls and groans and mutterings of evil and shit, like, it really just kind of just creates this cool fucking mood. Like, I hope they play the shit out of this in the spirit of Halloween come Halloween, and I hope everyone is terrified because that is exactly what this album should fucking do. Like, this is just scary, murky, evil. If you love, again, early Hooded Menace, and I would definitely say, like, Japanese Death Doom, like, specifically Anatomia and Coffins, check this out. It might be the heaviest thing you listen to this year, too.
And with that Starlight review, I'm going to give it a 4 because I really like music like this. Out of all the things that we've reviewed on Thralls of Metal, I really like the Death Doom and the evil sounding music. Like, this is just plain unsettling evil. And it's mostly made up by the atmosphere and the vocals. Like, don't get me wrong, everybody knows I like chuggy guitars and dissonance, which there is that in here. And just an unsettling, relentless beating of all the heaviest matter possible. I definitely second it on it being the heaviest record I've listened to so far this year. It's not your typical melody. It's definitely not your typical hook. It sounds like it's crying and weeping and like gnashing of teeth. Like, it's just plain disgusting. And I really like that. And really, I can't wait to listen to this at night, because that's going to happen. I recommend this wholeheartedly. Go out, listen to it, buy it, fucking support it. Good shit.
Terrify your fucking neighbors with it.
Terrify your... Dude, so look, I was jamming it on the way here, and I had my window halfway rolled down, and I turned, and the guy next to me was like, ugh. Yeah. And like...
Did you blow him a kiss?
I didn't. I didn't blow him a kiss. If Joe was with me, he would have blew him a kiss. I'm quite...
He would have licked his lips and showed him his butthole. Because it's Joe.
Because it's Joe. That's a thing.
Anywho, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com, which is currently under construction. But when it shows up, well, our Patreon link will be there. It's also on our channel someplace. But we'll hopefully also have some shirts to sell you. And with the recap of Denver Death Fest coming up relatively soon, I'm pretty sure there's going to be more information in there.
Not only will there be a recap of the Denver Death Fest we just had, there will also be a little bit about the Denver Death Fest we are throwing next year. That's right, because of the success and overwhelming fucking support and response we got from the first one. We figured we're going to do it again because we can. So you're going to see more of that to come as well.
And of course, thank you all so much for liking, subscribing, following, all that shit. It means the fucking world to us.
Thank you.
Channel's been growing here lately, and it's pretty fucking wild. But it wouldn't be anything without you guys. You guys keep us going. So yeah, plenty of content coming. Working again on a lot of different projects.
Many irons in many fires currently.
And we're gonna get some shit out to you. So once again, thank you all, and we will catch you later.